Hello, my name is Ben Tenetti. I'm the channel manager for Poly. I'm located out here in Santa Cruz, California, and today I'm here to talk to you guys about meeting equity and the hybrid workplace. So what do we mean by hybrid workplace is essentially where you're going to be at home some days, you're going to be at work other days. As you guys know, the world has changed and the way we do work is changing. And as a result of that, we're now expected to do pretty much video in almost every call. So I wanted to bring Melissa Bisbo, our Poly Experience Center manager, on to show you kind of some of how our new products work. So you guys will be familiar with Poly when you come to look at the tools you're going to use with your employees. And our reseller Solutionz is here with me today as well. And they are one of our platinum partners who is available across the United States to help you with your video needs. So as I mentioned, the world has changed and most people now kind of expect to work from home a couple days a week. So as we look at hybrid working, I'm seeing in the Bay Area here that, my friends who work at companies like Google and Apple are being told to go to work 3 days a week. So when you got to go to work 3 days a week, the company has to plan for that, right? So they have to say, okay, how am I going to plan for those people to be in the office? What tools are they going to need? What are they going to need when they're at home? And they want to make sure where people are working from at home or they're working in the office, they have that same input to work and teams as people are working together to solve your business needs. So this is what we're calling the hybrid work, right? So from an individual standpoint, what that means is me as an employee, I get to now work in my shed 1 day a week. I might work remotely in Tahoe for a week. I might work outside on my patio. So regardless of where I'm working, I got to make sure that the tools I have allow me to be successful. So I got to make sure that I have the right audio noise block so you're not picking up noises around me. I got to make sure that I have a good camera so that you guys could see me. And then from an organizational standpoint, this really gives people the ability to really throw a bigger net out there for attracting employees, right? So if you have the ability to work remotely and be just as strong as a participant, then what that does is allows your corporation to actually retain top talent, get new talent, and do things to be more successful themselves. So, you've seen plenty of calls now where people are on video calls and you'll hear a dog bark or you'll see somebody in a coffee shop, and there's a lot of different distractions that come into that call. The idea is if you get the right tools, you could help eliminate some of those distractions. And that's what we're going to walk you through today to show you how that experience not only will be at an equal experience for everybody on the call, but it'll also be a better experience because of the Poly DNA that's built into the products with noise block, acoustic fence, camera tracking, all those things that make your call more special. So meeting equity basically means that if you take a look at the Brady Bunch squares, everybody on that call has equal participation. It used to be when you were in the conference room, you would have basically the people in the conference room would dominate the call, and the people who dialed in might as well not even bother dialing in because everyone forgets you're there. But now, when you have that Brady Bunch square, you're seeing and you have that larger than life picture. And we're working with tools and stuff with both Zoom and Microsoft to make sure that not only do the remote participants have their individual picture, but so will the people in the room. So we're working on camera tracking and things like that to do people framing where you could actually pop the people in the room who are talking to have that same full life picture within those Brady Bunch squares in the Teams meeting or Zoom meeting that you may be in. So that's what we're looking at, is making sure that everybody on the call feels equal. Everyone can participate in the same level. And, a lot of the companies that we surveyed out there are really feel that this is critical. And they are asking us and asking the ecosystem partners to try to make meeting equity a key component of the solution as we move forward. So when we break this down, we kind of look at three different areas for collaboration, right? It has to do with the people, the space, and the technology. So when we take a look at those a little deeper, Polly has done a big survey on really understanding the different roles in a corporate world. So we call that, when we looked at it, we did a survey and we came back with what we called personas, right? And there's at least 9 different personas, but we narrowed it down to, the majority of workers are going to have one of these 6 personas on the screen. Now, what this does is it allows IT to kind of understand the different people who are going to be using these spaces, so they could design, the right cubicle setup, conference room setup in that hybrid office. It'll be mostly hoteling and things like that. So you want to make sure you have those hotel spaces set up to manage the people. And then we actually design our products for those type of people. So we have a whole P series products for the home worker. We have headsets that match the communication needs of the worker. We have the right phone systems for the people who are using their phones. And of course, the video equipment for the conference rooms. So if you take a look at workspaces, I always break it down into the 2 different types. You got your, personal use, and then you've got your conference rooms, right? So within the personal uses, we have technology in our headsets, in our speaker phones, in our codecs that do noise block, right? So what's that going to do for you on a call? Well, that means when the guy comes to the door and suddenly the dog starts barking, it's going to recognize that and say, hey, let's block that noise out. So it's going to actually reduce the sound of the noises that aren't people talking. So we have a whole bunch of settings you can do within our video systems to try and adjust those. Within our headsets, they also look at our headsets, say, hey, the noise isn't coming from right here. Let's block out the noises around you. So the technology within our hardware is really looking to make that a better experience. And that's what we're going to show you a little bit today as we go through that. The conference room also does tracking, right? So there's a lot of different modes. So if I'm in the room by myself, it's just going to look at me. But if somebody else joins, suddenly you're going to have the camera span out and say, okay, now there's 2 people in the room. Let's capture both those people. If I'm going to walk around and move, the camera's going to be able to follow me. So there's a lot of things that make that experience better for all. So the right technology has to do with having the right partners. So if you take a look at Poly, we've been in the business for a long time, practically 60 years now. And we've been working with all the major players out there. Obviously, you've heard of Zoom and Microsoft. They're pretty much leading the charge on the cloud video conferencing, but all the phone system people too, we work with them for the desk phones, the desktops, the headsets. We have video, new partners coming on every day. The nice thing about using Poly is you don't necessarily have to rip and replace when you decide to change your technology. Our products flow with the technology. So usually it's just a firmware adjustment or an adjustment you need to make within the system itself to let the system know you're using a different technology than maybe you were using the day before. So as I mentioned, we've been around for 60 years. Poly is a global company. So together with Poly and Solutionz, who is our video partner, we should be able to help all partners, customers meet the needs of this new working environment that we're going to show you now with some demos. So I'm going to stop sharing now and switch it over to Melissa.
All right, good afternoon, probably afternoon for most people here. My name is Melissa Bisbo, and I am the experience manager here at our experience center in Austin, Texas. So I'm going to walk through and demonstrate a few of those products that Ben just kind of gave you a high level overview from our personal products here all the way up to some of our conference room solutions. I am going to spotlight my video, so I will be large screen for everyone. And as I mentioned, we'll start here with kind of some work from home solutions and then transition through and show you some of those conference room solutions. But the really nice thing about all of these devices are that some of the things I'm going to show you that are built into these personal products are also built into our room system. So it's really, you're going to get that great experience across the board. If you're working from home, then you're maybe going into the office a few days a week, you want to be able to have that same experience. We have some of those audio and camera features that we have built into our portfolio. So starting with our P series devices, these are our personal line of devices. So the first device in that family is our P5 camera. So that is this little webcam right here. So when everyone went home, or lots of people working, some people started, just using your laptop camera. It was good enough, but good enough is not good enough anymore. You need a better camera than your laptop camera. So in comes the P5. All of these devices are just USB, so it's perfect, very easy to use, plug into your computer, also very easy to just take with you on the go. And because they are just USB, they're going to work across different platforms. So you may be on a Zoom meeting, a Teams meeting, WebEx, Google Hangouts, whatever you may be joining, these products are going to work. So this here is our little P5 camera. You'll notice that it has a little monitor clamp, so it sits easily on your laptop. It is a 1080p camera with an 80-degree field of view. So some of our larger room cameras have 120-degree fields of view. We don't need 120 degrees for our home office, so we have a smaller field of view. This is meant for really that one person. It also has a privacy shutter, so I can actually close this by just turning the shutter there. So now my video is off, so if you just want that extra confidence that you're not on video, you can turn that shutter. There also is a little indicator light on the top here, that if we were in a call, it would be green. If we were muted, it would turn red. So you have that visual indication that you are not, that you're muted. There are directional mics built into it. Most people that use this little webcam either use one of our headsets or one of our speaker pucks, our sync devices, but there is a directional mic that is built in if you wanted to use that. But my favorite part of this camera is the back actually pops right off. And there is a little garage, I like to call it, in the back with a USB port in there, so you can plug in that dongle for your Bluetooth headset or maybe your wireless mouse, just freeing up one of those extra ports that we all are, that are all in great demand on our laptops. You can plug it right into the back here. And then also the camera pops right off. It's magnetic, and so you can double it as a document camera and just pops right back on here. And again, you can see very small and compact, so it's easy to just use when you're working from home. Maybe you're going to the office a couple days a week, or perfect for traveling if you're in that hotel and you want something better than that laptop camera. So this is the P5. I will mention with the P5, we also have some kits that are perfect for just deploying out to employees. So this here is one of our P5 kits. We have 4 different versions, 3 of them with headsets, and then a 4th one with our Sync 20 device, which is our speaker puck device. So I can just open this right up here. There's a little start guide, has a headset, and then the P5 would be sitting down here. I had that one there. So it's very easy, compact. You have 4 different choices to choose from, perfect for those new onboarding. Here's your laptop, then you have your headset or your speaker puck and your camera right there, and all in one box. So we have those P5 kits. So that is the first one of our personal devices, again, the P5. The second one is the P15. That's actually what I am on right now. So the P15, I will hold you up and show you another one. So this here is going to add on our personal video bar. So everything you need, again, just USB. So it's USB'd into your computer. This one does require power as well. This one has a 4K camera and a 90-degree field of view. So we're opening up a little bit more. You can see I actually, there is some camera tracking in here. I have no camera tracking on right now, so you're seeing a little bit more of my space. Again, it's really meant for one person, but you can, we have one of these in one of our little phone booth touchdown spaces up front that has 2 chairs. You can see if you have 2 people sitting close together, you could have 2 people, but really it is meant for that personal space. This one also has a physical shutter that I can close. So if I turn this, I am not on video anymore. So that, that confidence again. I'm going to flip this upside down. Again, this was power, USB into the computer, but we also have 2 additional USB ports here, again, for your headset, for your wireless mouse, again, freeing up your laptop right there in the bottom of this device. Comes with this monitor clamp. This is also just a universal tripod mount. So if you had this at your desktop at home and wanted it on a tripod and not on your monitor, that is available as well. There is some noise block and acoustic fence built into this. So I'm actually going to demonstrate this on this device here in a second, but so we have those acoustic features, and it does have some camera tracking built in. So again, it's meant for 1 to 2 people, but it does have some group framing. So if you want to chop down a little bit more of this view, or maybe you have a standing or sitting desk that you use throughout the day, this will allow you to stand up and sit down, and the camera will automatically track you as well. And all of these cameras, all of these personal cameras, are really perfected for those low light scenarios. So we all know that I'm in an office here. This has really great lighting, but most people's home offices, you don't have the best lighting. So the optics in these cameras are really perfected to work in those scenarios where you may not have the best lighting. I am going to demonstrate that noise block and acoustic fence that's built into this. So of course, we are all challenged at home and in the office with distractive noises, right? We are multitasking on meetings, even though, we say we're not, and we're typing on a keyboard, shuffling papers, eating our snacks. You're at home, the dog's barking, the doorbell's ringing, all of those things that can distract meetings. We have 2 features built into this device, as well as Al mentioned throughout our portfolio, even in our large room devices, that help with those noises. So the first one is our noise block AI technology. So what noise block does, listens for people talking in the space. When no one's talking, it's going to actually automatically mute out those microphones, even if you forgot to put yourself on mute, and you're not going to hear those tapping of on the table, typing of the keyboards, the eating your snack when you're having your lunch in the middle of your meeting. But as soon as someone starts talking, it's going to open those microphones up, and if there is distractive noises still happening, it's going to reduce the volume of them down. There's where that AI comes in. So it'll mute them completely when no one's talking, or reduce the volume of them down while you are talking. So I'm going to actually demonstrate this. I'm going to turn my noise block off. We always just say this is really something you would leave on. It just makes your meetings even better, but I'm going to turn it off for my demo. I'm going to play my very loud blow dryer noise. Hopefully you would never try to have a meeting over something this loud. It's loud and distracted. I'm going to keep playing it, but I'm going to turn on my noise block now. So when I turned on my noise block, the noise went away. Now that I'm talking, you may be able to hear this coming through, but the volume of it has been reduced. I'm going to actually turn it off because it's very loud. And I was playing something extremely loud. Hopefully you wouldn't be trying to compete over something that loud when you're in a meeting. So think of the typical things that interrupt the meetings: the typing, the shuffling, the doorbell ringing, the dog barking. Those things are going to be brought down significantly. That's that noise block AI technology. And as I mentioned, it's in this P15 personal device. It's also built into some of our headsets and even into our larger room devices that we'll talk about here in a little bit. So it's going to follow you from the home office all the way into the office. And then the second acoustic feature I'm going to demonstrate is our acoustic fence. So this one, it uses the microphones on the edges of the device, and it allows me to kind of create, we call it like an invisible barrier. So I'm at home, maybe I have to share my home office, and the person sitting next to me is also on a meeting. I don't want you guys to hear them. So I can turn on that fence, and any noises that are outside of the parameters that I set up are going to be muted out, or the lawn's being mowed outside, or back in the office, you have a conference room, a noisy hallway, or maybe catering's happening. On these all-in-one devices, you can turn on that fence, configure how narrow or wide you want it, and help reduce any of that noise that's from the outside coming in. So I'm going to turn on my acoustic fence here, and I'm going to play my loud noise again. Let me turn it up really loud. And I'm going to move my phone in and outside of my fence to show you how this works. All right, so, and I had mine set to be pretty narrow, so once I moved it over here, that noise got muted out. On these devices, you can do narrow, medium, or wide. And actually a new feature we have is camera view. So really whatever view is, if you have your tracking on, whatever view what is seen on the far end, that's what you're going to hear. So if I had my tracking on and maybe the view is a little bit tighter, you can actually have that acoustic fence set to change with the view of the camera and not necessarily just blocking off. So I turned on my group framing here and made that shot a little bit closer. So you can have that fence where if you didn't see me, whatever you didn't see, you weren't going to hear. So another great feature, really two features that set us apart here at Poly, the ability to have that noise block and that acoustic fence technology. That acoustic fence is also built into a few of our headsets as well. So you can be on a call, a very loud environment. No one is going to hear anything that you have that may be happening around you if you have that headset on. So really following us across the board there. And because these are USB devices and our headsets, it's going to work no matter what meeting platform you find yourself in. If you're in a Teams, Zoom, WebEx, it has nothing to do with the provider. It's actually built into our hardware. And the last personal device I'm going to show you is our P21. So I'm just going to flip my camera to a different camera here. And well, there we go. So our P21 is our all-in-one personal meeting display. So this is a your camera up top here. So I can close my physical shutter. It's kind of hard to see with that the light there. Oops, got ahead of myself on the lighting. So there's a camera that is built into this device. There are speakers and microphone here as well. And this is just USB'd. I have this USB'd into a laptop here. So I'm not in a call right now on my P21. I'm just using it as my second monitor. This one just also requires power. So we have everything we need for our video call. We also have some built-in ambient lighting. So I'm going to actually raise my hand along the edge of this, and this is going to add some ambient lighting in there. Again, working in those low light scenarios, we can make sure that we are not, that we're lit very well on here if you happen to be in those spaces where you don't have the best lighting. We also have controls right on the screen, so I can control my volume right from the screen. Instead of doing it from my client, whatever meeting I'm in, I can also mute from my screen. You'll notice when I did that, we are now glowing red down here, so I would have that visual indication if I was on a call that I am in fact muted. If you were in a call, that would also turn green if you were not muted. Over here on the side, we have this little rocket button. We also have this built into some of our sync devices. It's just a programmable button that you can use to do things you most often do, be it end a call, start a call, maybe you're playing music. This is a personal button that you can program to do things that you most often do. And then we also have wireless charging in the base of this device. So I can put my phone on here and I can, if you have a phone that has wireless charging capabilities, and it's going to charge your phone as well. We see a lot of these executive desktop at home. You maybe take your video call, freeing up maybe that other monitors that you have. Also, another place we see this a lot, and we in fact have here in Austin, is those phone booth style places, touchdown spaces. So you can have one of these in the room, and a user, an employee just walks in with their own personal laptop for the day. And we know a lot of people are getting rid of dedicated workspaces, right? A lot of people have lost their dedicated workspace at work, so it's more common area. This allows you to just walk in with your laptop, and maybe you don't have all those monitors you used to have, but giving you that second monitor in that shared workspace. So this is our P21. I'm gonna flip my camera back over so you can see my face. So again, the P5 is the little personal webcam, perfect for travel on the go. P15 is going to add on a little bit wider field of view, your camera and our speaker and microphone in here, so you have that great quality video and in that speaker bar. And that P21 is going to be that all-in-one meeting display where you can take your video calls, but also have that as that second monitor in those situations where you want to free up, maybe having free up your laptop. I'm going to pause there if there are any questions, or if Ben wants to add anything to the personal series.
No, just I've used them all, right? So that P15 is definitely a home run product. You know, we have plenty of those right now, of all those products. So it's one of the things you don't have to worry about supply constrained. You know, if you people want them we could get them for you right away.
Perfect. And before I hop to my other room, I do have one of our brand new video bars here that I do want to show you because it is another USB bar. So you may have heard of this. If not, this is our brand new, just announced R30. So this looks very similar to the P15. The difference, I will take off its little shutter. So you'll notice that the lens looks a little bit different. This device is going to have a 120-degree field of view. So where these were more for personal 1 to 2 people, this R30 now can fit in that focus room or a small space, maybe up to 3 to 4 people, because we have that 120-degree field of view. It is still a small form factor. So if you're looking for a larger room, I'm going to show you those solutions for that. But this is an option, and it is just a USB again. So it can be a room with a dedicated PC or one with just a monitor on the wall where someone just walks in and plugs in their own laptop. Again, the bottom is very similar to that P15 with the additional USB ports there for a headset or mouse. And again, just power and USB into your laptop. But did just want to show this. This is brand new. It's called the R30. So P for personal, R for room. So again, meant for a small room. We'd say probably no more than 4 people in a huddle space, but going to give you all that great acoustic features, so the noise block, the acoustic fence. This one has a little bit more advanced camera tracking than the P15 because it is meant for a room. So we're going to have the ability to frame the group. We can move between active speakers, and we also have the ability to do something called presenter mode, which will actually follow an active speaker if they're moving throughout the space. So did want to show this. Very excited about this. Our brand new product just announced a couple weeks ago. So if you hear R30, that's what this is, just a USB product plugged into the computer very easily, but going to give you that wider field of view and give you a few more features with that camera tracking.
So that happens to be the one I'm on today. So I'm testing that out and I'm using it, and definitely does give a lot more camera features over the P15 and adjustable as far as, you know, the different modes you want to put it in. But nice product. It's really designed to be that conference room that's a little smaller, like you said. We were suggesting putting the P15 in there, but I would highly recommend this over the P15 in a conference room.
Yep. All right, with that, I'm gonna hop to my other room, so I'll be back in a minute. And in that room, I'm just gonna kind of give a high-level overview. We talked about USB products here for personal devices and for maybe that small conference space. I'm gonna just do a high-level overview of our X series line of products. So those are also all-in-one bars, but they have a built-in codec, so we'll kind of talk through what that means. And then I'll show you some of the camera tracking for those larger rooms. So I'll be back to you in less than a minute. And I'm going to mute my audio and video here, and I'll see you back in a...
Okay. Well, she goes and does that. I guess I'll just fill some airtime here. You know, like she's showing you these different technologies that are available. You know, we do have demo programs so people can test them themselves. So and virtual demos available for your customers. So if you want to bring your customers into something similar where they do a virtual demo, then they want to follow up with a demo of the product itself on site to see what it does. All of that's available. So you could just reach out to me and we could set you up with the right people to make that happen. She did show you that new R30. So the R30, you're kind of saying, okay, that's a USB device. So anyone that walks in with a PC plugs it into their PC and it works. We also have that studio USB. The difference between the R30 and the studio USB is only about 100, 150 bucks. The R30 is going to give you a nicer, cleaner look for those smaller conference rooms. The studio USB is a little bit bigger of a bar, but it's going to give you the stereo, right? So the sound is going to be a lot stronger. The sound's real good on the R30, but you're going to have that stereo sound coming out of the studio USB. So that's going to be the big difference. The cameras are going to pretty much perform similar, but the sound is where you're going to get the difference between the studio USB and the R30. And today we're not really going through headsets, but we do have a full line of headsets. You know, wireless headsets is usually what I recommend. As she mentioned, you know, the Voyager Focus is one of our most popular ones, and we have plenty of those. So the Voyager Focus 2 is a binaural headset that has that noise block ability. So I actually use it when I fly. So I watch movies when I'm on the plane through that headset, knocks out the engine noise so I don't have all that distraction. And literally, I think when I land, I'm a lot more refreshed because I'm not hearing that engine noise the whole time. And then when I get on a call, I know that people aren't going to hear the stuff that's around me when I'm sitting at the airport and I gotta do a call as soon as I land because that's how business is these days. You got to be able to work from wherever. So that's my go-to headset when I travel. If I'm driving, obviously you can't wear a binaural headset. So then I'll use the Voyager 5200, which is a single ear headset that has that same noise block technology. So that's really good for the road warrior when he's on the road. So those are just some of the other features. And, as I mentioned, we also got a whole line of phones. We're not going to go through phones today, but I'm finding that a lot of customers, particularly government, still want that phone on the desk. So if you're using Zoom or using Teams, what happens is once you start using that video, the phone people come in and say, why are you paying all that maintenance on your own old phone system? We could turn it on phone where it's already included with the licenses you have. You might as well be using voice. So once you start using Zoom voice or Teams voice, a lot of times people want to get a new phone for that. So we have a full line of VVX and CCX phones that are available as well as they go through that. So when you look at the full portfolio, we're one of the only vendors that are going to do headsets, phones, video, and provide global support on all of those products along with our software to help manage those. So it looks like Melissa's back, so I'll let her show you the new Austin cart.
All right, I'm gonna spotlight myself there. All right, perfect. So I've just transitioned over to my other room and going to give you just a high level overview of some of our room solutions. Ben just mentioned that studio USB. So that R30 was that USB product. The studio USB, that's what I have above the monitor here. So you can see it is a little bit bigger than that R30, but it does have a little bit more powerful speaker. So maybe a room a little bit bigger than the R30, but it's still going to still just a USB product. So again, very popular device. It's all in one device, just plugged into that computer, and just going to give you a little bit richer sound than that R30 would. So here I'm going to talk briefly about our X series line of products. So we of course have all of that, the USB products that are very just plug and play, plug them right into your laptop and joining no matter what type of meeting you want. But we also have devices that have a built-in codec. So they have the brains built into it. They are Android devices. And what that means is that it allows us to run native applications on them. So you'll see behind me something that looks like a Zoom room, because this one is running Zoom. This one here is running our Poly application. It's kind of an open SIP H323 solution. We have Teams on the other side of the room. We can run a native Teams experience. Also in this room, I have Go to Room. I have Ring Central. I have Blue Jeans. The nice thing about this, these devices, which I'll zoom in on, they can be run in any one of these modes. So I always like to say it's investment protection. So for those conference rooms, you may have a customer who is completely Zoom today, but then they get acquired by another company who's completely Teams. You don't have to rip and replace all their equipment. These devices can really just be rebooted into another provider mode and going to give you that native experience. And the nice thing about native is that you're going to get all those full features of a Zoom room. So if someone's used to using Zoom on their laptop, which we're on today, all of these icons, they're going to be very familiar, and you're going to have that capability in a large room as well, small to large room. So our X series line of products, we have four different devices. So the first one's the X30. I'm just going to zoom in to show you that one. So this here is the smallest one of our devices. This is, again, it looks similar again to that R30. This one here has that codec built in though. So it is not just a USB device, but it's the camera, the speaker, the microphone. And then again, it's not just a plug and play USB, but it is pretty simple to deploy. Just requires power, network, and HDMI into a monitor. So you don't have a bunch of cables running around. This one here only supports one monitor because it is meant for small spaces. So we're saying, up to a 12, 15 foot mic pickup range, really meant for a small room. It has camera tracking, and it also has noise block and acoustic fence. So all of those great features that we talked about before also built into this device as well. And of course, any of these devices have different mounting options. You'll see this one sitting on a table stand. They can be mounted above, below, VESA mounts, lots of different options. LED bar lights that are green and red when you're on mute and not, and also move around with that camera tracking. The second one would be our X50, which is above this monitor here. This is going to be for up to more of those medium-sized rooms. Again, everything you need: camera, speaker, microphone, codec, HDMI into your monitor. This one will support 2 monitors. It is meant for a bigger space. Has about a 25-foot mic pickup range. We still say the camera, we say the sweet spot for that camera is really that 12 to 15 for that tracking. Audio will pick up 25 feet, if not more. Again, we're known for our audio here. And then once we get into the larger rooms, we have 2 products for larger rooms. Our new all-in-one device is our X70. So this is the X70, a little bit bigger than the X50. The difference here is we have a different camera and we have some more powerful speakers. So it's meant for a larger room. This camera is 2 lenses. As you can see, the shutter is closed here, but we have a wide angle lens at the bottom, a narrow angle lens at the top. This allows us to do tracking up to 25 feet and also do some really neat transitions when we move between those 2 lenses. I'll actually join from one of these cameras here after I'm finished going through these devices to show you some of the tracking capabilities. Again, it's all in one. So it's the camera, the speaker, the microphone, and the codec. So for those large rooms, if you want an easy to deploy all-in-one device, this is the X70. And then in the last line of the Android family, we still have that traditional codec. So our G7500, this is just a traditional codec for those integrated rooms that maybe have ceiling speakers, different microphones, things that you want a little bit more, maybe multiple cameras. We're able to do that with Zoom. And then the E70 camera is usually paired with our G7500. It's the exact same camera that's in this X70. So the camera is exactly the same. The X70 just has the odd the speakers and microphone built in. This here is a standalone camera. So then you would need the speaker source. You would need some other audio source. Usually we have this set up in our room that I'll join from. We already have ceiling microphones and some speakers in that room. This camera can also be inverted. So if you have monitors that are up high, this camera can be inverted. And my favorite part of this is that there's no moving parts. Some of our older solutions for large rooms, the camera's actually moved around. It can be pretty intimidating for people if the camera's tracking you. The only moving part in this camera is the shutter that will close from the top and the bottom when you're not in a call. That you can see that's closed here. There are microphones in the front, 4 little microphones. Those are primarily for speaker tracking though. So for triangulating where an active speaker is talking from. So this is that E70 camera, typically paired with that G7500, or on our Microsoft Solutionz, we also have that as well. Then we have our X30, our X50, and our X70. And the nice thing about these is the experience would be the same across the board. So I'll just flip over to my Zoom side here. So if I had a room, if I had a customer that was completely Zoom or 99% Zoom, and they wanted their rooms, their small rooms, their medium-sized rooms, their large rooms, it would be the same end user experience when walking into that room. And a user would walk into that small room, they would see their meetings for the day, being able to just click to start on those meetings. They're in the meeting, they'd go to the large boardroom later in the day, they'd have that exact same experience in the large room. So keeping that consistent experience across the board from small to large rooms, but then again, that flexibility that I have this running in Zoom, but if you have another customer who's completely Teams, you can have these running in a native Teams application as well. So layering on that flexibility of different customers, and also if people decide to change and go a different route with a different provider. And also we can have those native experiences, but all these devices also support something we call device mode, which means you can walk into the room with your personal laptop and actually plug in your laptop. This would automatically launch this device mode. What this means is I could actually run the meeting from my laptop, but take advantage of the camera, speaker, and microphone from these devices. So adds on another layer of flexibility. It is one extra step to plug in that USB cable and then an HDMI cable into that monitor. But if you have those one-off meetings that you get invited to, that you can't join from the native Zoom room, maybe it's a Google Hangouts or some meeting that you can't natively join from here, you have the flexibility to actually plug in your own personal laptop and join the call from there as well. One more thing I'll show you before we kind of move on to some camera. I have touch screens here. All of these devices interact with touch screens, but most people don't have touch screens in their environment, so they would control the meeting from this TC8 at the table. I'll zoom down in on that to show you what that looks like. So this device here is the same, it would be the same touch controller for any one of these X series devices, and it's just PoE, so it just needs a network drop, and then it's going to pair with your 30 or 50 or 70, and this is what you would control the meeting from at the table. Most people use the TCA. Again, touch screens work, but if you don't have those, then you can, everything that you can do up on the screen can be done down here as well. I'm going to pause there. Again, I just have Zoom and Poly mode here, but again, we have Ring Central, Go to Room. I think there's 7 or 8 providers now that we can do that native experience, and still working with more providers to give that native experience in your conference rooms. Any questions or anything else you wanted to add, Ben, before I hop to my large room to show some E70 camera tracking?
I think we're ready to go.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to actually grab my colleague Thune. We're going to hop to my large boardroom, and in that room, we are going to, we have a G7500, so it's that codec, and we have our E70 camera. Again, the same camera that's in that all-in-one X70. We're going to show you a little bit of the camera tracking with those 2 lenses in a large space. It does some really cool transitions there. And again, meant for the large space. And all of these devices, again, have all of that noise block and acoustic fence technology that we demonstrated on those personal devices that go through into these large rooms as well. So I'm going to hang up here and transition one last time to that room, and I will be back.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are looking at putting video in every conference room, right? So we have some things to help you guys identify what's the right thing for the right size room. So one of the things we released this year is a website called spaces.poly.com. And what that website does is it allows you to choose what size room, what environment you want to be in, what ecosystem, and then it'll give you guys a list of SKUs. Say, hey, for this large room, here are a couple suggestions, and you could then take a look and say, okay, here's what I need for that conference room. So if you chose a medium-sized room, it would go in there and say, okay, let's put in the studio USB. If you say a large size room, it'll say, okay, we definitely need a bigger camera. Let's take a look at the E70 camera with the G7500, or a Studio X, or even a MTR on Windows with the E75 if it's Teams. So, that's available for you guys to share with your customers to help them design the right conference room space size.
All right. Oops. Perfect. All right, so let me give you a quick pic before I wanted to of my room there. All right, so I've joined you here from my large room. This is our large room here in Austin. And in this room, again, we have that E70 camera. We have our G7500 codec. This camera is meant for those large rooms. You kind of saw a sneak peek of how large this room is, but we were positioning this camera for rooms up to 25 feet. I am sitting about 23 to 24 feet away from the camera right now. When we have those 2 lenses, we're able to capture a much larger portion of the room. So I'm going to actually pan out to show you again how large this room is here. So pretty large space here in Austin. The table itself is pretty large. It's about 18 feet long. And also it's shaped like a trapezoid. So it is narrower where I'm sitting than where Foon is up in the front. So if it looks a little misshapen, it's not your eyes. It actually is the table. I'm going to go up to the front of the room and talk a little bit about that wide angle lens and how we can capture a larger portion of the room. And then we'll show you some of the camera tracking features. So this camera here, as I mentioned, has the bottom lens is 120 degrees. So you're able to see a large portion of this room. In fact, before we have this camera in here, we had one of our other large room cameras. And if I got any closer than this point in the table, so if I scooted up close to the edge, it would start to get chopped off. So this allows us to see a larger portion of the room. And also, we've heard a lot from customers lately about rethinking how they want their rooms to look. So maybe we're not going to stick with this traditional bowling alley style. Maybe we want to do more stadium style seating or immersive experience, especially with all these new features coming out from Zoom and Teams with people framing and putting people in their own boxes and that meeting equity. So when this camera, before we had it mounted, we had it in pieces on a cart and we were testing things. So we rolled it in front of that monitor, capture the room kind of flipped on its side. It was able to capture the entire 18-foot long table with the room on its side. So giving you that wide angle field of view opens it up to really rethink how maybe some of your rooms are situated and not maybe necessarily all of your rooms being like this anymore. You'll also notice that there is a slight curvature in the table here, maybe a little bit in the ceiling and floor when we're panned all the way out, so we're completely zoomed out. But the engineers worked hard to make sure that the people don't look distorted. So Foon and I are sitting, our table's pretty close to the monitors here, so we're sitting fairly close to the camera. Even if I get up all the way to the end edge, I don't start looking distorted, right? So they worked hard to make sure that the people, or who are the most important part of the call, we stay preserved, even if you may see a little bit of distortion there in that table. So we're going to show you a little bit of the camera tracking now. So right now we have no tracking on, but we're going to show you the group framing first. So these cameras are able to just frame the people in the room. So Foon and I are the only ones here. You'll notice the camera has panned out to show both of us, cutting off a lot of that ceiling now, just cropping the shot a little bit closer. I'm going to head to the back of the room and Foon will stay where she is just to show you how if someone is maybe 25 feet away from the camera and someone's up close there, 5, 6 feet away, how the camera's going to readjust automatically, getting as close as it can to both of us without chopping off either one of us. And then if Foon leaves the shot, leaving me as the only one in the room in this large boardroom, 24, 25 feet away, the camera will realize that I'm the only one left. It will readjust. When it did that, you may have noticed, if you caught it, this dissolve feature. This director AI that we have built in, when it moves between the wide angle lens, which it was using before, to that telephoto lens capturing me in the back, we had that dissolve. So instead of sweeping across the room or making hard cuts, we have that much more eye-appealing feature. And then if Foon decides to come back into the shot, now we need the wide angle lens to capture her. So it's going to pan out and give you that dissolve to show her as well. So that's framing the group. Some customers, that's all they like. They just want to frame the people on the table, cutting off any excess, but others really want to follow the conversation or zoom in on the active speaker so those people at home really feel like the person is close to them. So we're going to show you some speaker tracking now. So I'm back here in the back of the room as the only person talking, and the camera is going to pan over to me as the actual person talking, but I'm going to throw it up to Foon in the front of the room.
Thank you, Melissa. Hello, everyone. My name is Foon Nguyen. I am the briefing coordinator here in Austin, Texas. So as I begin to talk up here in the front of the room, the camera has panned out to show both Melissa and I. As I continue to talk, the camera has zoomed into me to show to you that I am the active speaker. Now I'm going to throw it back to Melissa.
Perfect. So another difference of this camera in also that dissolve is this following the conversation. Instead of just popping around the room when I started talking or Foon started talking, it first did a group frame shot of us because it wants to be sure that we aren't going to talk back and forth. If we were, it would make more sense to just show the people who are talking until one person has taken over that conversation. So there's a lot of intelligence built into this camera, the ability to frame that conversation, that dissolve feature, and the ability to change between that group framing or speaker framing, depending on what your customers' needs are, or from meeting to meeting. Some customers really only want always group framing. Some are, I really want to be able to zoom in and as the person is talking, or follow the conversation around the room with this new camera. Any questions or anything else we want to add about this large room camera?
Well, I guess within Zoom, you do have the ability to do your own box, right? So that's a function within Zoom that you guys can put it in that mode.
Yeah, they're still working out some bugs in this version of it. We put ours on a new one, so the lip sync gets a little off if we put it in there. But yes, on the Zoom controls, you can change between group speaker framing or that multi-stream, as Zoom calls it. And then, of course, the E70, we don't have this one set up. I can't change it on this one, but we also in Poly have that ability, or coming soon, that people framing mode. So people framing is a Poly feature that's going to be coming to first that E70 and X70 that is going to give people their own individual tiles and boxes. So it would feel more meeting equity on the other side. So if we could we don't have this one ability to do it yet. It's still a preview mode, but If we have this on people framing, it would put Foon and I in our own boxes. If someone else came in, it would add a third box. So Zoom has their own multi-stream, or they call it Smart Gallery. We are working here at Poly to come up with our own people framing that will be working in no matter what type of meeting, it will actually be built into the camera. So that is a feature that will be coming soon.
Yes, and those cameras will be compatible with the ecosystem's requirements as
Yep.
well.
Exactly.
I appreciate everyone. Have a good day. Thank you, Melissa. This was excellent.
You're welcome. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.